Hey everyone, welcome to the Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Miss AJ. Thanks for tuning in. An oasis is something that provides refuge, relief, or a pleasant contrast, and that is exactly what you will find tuning into the Oasis podcast. This is a space where I and special guests will be cultivating intentional and honest conversations about life's journey. Subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts and watch us on YouTube now. Hey y'all, hey. Welcome back to another episode of the Oasis podcast. Thank you for joining us again, as always. Totally very grateful for all my old listeners and those new folks who are here. Thank you so much for taking the time to take a listen. So as promised in previous episodes, I said that I would have a future episode talking more about what AJO Consulting Services does and why it's very much needed in our community. And so that's what we are going to talk about today. I'm very much so excited to share this information with y'all and how these services can help support women and families on their motherhood and parenting journey. So for starters, I am Tanisha Sennett, also known as AJ, and I'm the founder of AJO Consulting Services, LLC. And I'm honestly beyond thrilled to discuss the transformative power of the services that I provide, which is coaching, doula care, consultations, and I'm really looking forward to talking about why AJO Consulting Services should be and is your go-to destination for empowering mothers and families. So the style of this podcast episode might be a little bit different than typical. So what I'll do is I'll pose a question that has been asked to me or that, people want to know more about, and then I'll proceed to answer the question. So I'm kind of like interviewing myself, right? And so please take a listen, share this information if you find it useful. It's free to share, okay? And so if you can, would be beyond grateful for it. And so let's dive in. Let me give a little bit more background as to how my personal journey led me to creating AJO Consulting Services. So those of you who've been, again, longtime listeners of the podcast, I went through fertility journey. I started that fertility journey in 2020. And so by that meaning, went and got myself tested, saw a fertility specialist, checked my hormones. Well, I started with my PCP, checked my hormones, but then took a step further to see a fertility specialist who took it, of course, a deeper dive into checking my egg reserves and hormones and all these things. And I did it single and really just to have the information for myself for whenever I did decide to, become a mother. And again, partnered or not, right? Whatever decision I decided to make. Granted, of course, I wanted a partner and to have a family, but I was also open to the alternative. And did that in 2020. Met my child's father, I think later that year. It was later that year. And ended up getting pregnant in 2022. Yeah, like fall 2022. And so this fertility journey is also part of the services I provide, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. So I shared my pregnancy story with you all. Still have plans to share the postpartum journey, but you might get a little bit of tidbit from what I'm about to share about that. But I'll definitely dive in deeper. And so what I shared is in 2023, I almost died after giving birth to my daughter. And after birth in life, I almost lost mine. And unfortunately for Black women in America, this isn't a rare occurrence. And for me, this completely changed my life's purpose. I didn't have the typical pregnancy story. I told y'all, some details about that. But as a 36-year-old Black woman, I spent the duration of my pregnancy being afraid that I was going to die. I was considered advanced maternal age, most commonly known as a geriatric pregnancy. So not only did that weigh on my experience, but my pregnancy was riddled with issues that were exacerbated by the pregnancy itself, such as my asthma worsening, me having these gastrointestinal issues, which I had years prior, but came on back after I got pregnant, having extreme fibroid pains, and me having that lovely morning sickness that started in the second trimester and pretty much stayed almost up until I gave birth. This was not an easy pregnancy, but overall a healthy one. So through all of that, I had an overall healthy pregnancy that made it to 40 weeks and 2 days. So I made it full term, which they usually say that doesn't happen for first time moms, but I did it. And I gave birth to my daughter, my beautiful little munchkin, at 5 pounds and 11 ounces. And she was perfectly healthy. Nothing was wrong with her. She was just small. And that's because she probably didn't let me eat, because she didn't. All I kept doing was vomiting. Okay. And again, if you want to know more about that pregnancy story, I talk about my birthing story. That, again, wasn't necessarily the smoothest. But you can go back and you can listen to those episodes where I do talk about that if you want more information. But I'm just trying to set the stage for how I came to rebrand AJO Consulting Services. I would like to say that my postpartum was better than, the pregnancy and the birth, but it wasn't. Yeah. Not only did I develop postpartum preeclampsia, I also became anemic due to excessive bleeding that occurred after birth from placenta that was still left in my womb. Okay, we're gonna talk about that. I had countless visits to regulate and try to regulate my symptoms and try to figure out. There was a point in time where I didn't really know exactly what was going on. So I was seeing different doctors to figure it out. And so countless visits to regulate my issues. I had those visits with my midwives. I had more than one. OB, my primary care physician. I had to see a neurologist. I had to see a hematologist. Again, I'll talk about this postpartum story. And it took over a year for me to get my health back to some semblance of normal. And these are things that they don't prepare you for. No one really talks about these things. Everyone is really focused on you getting pregnant and then having a healthy baby. But then it's like, what about mom? What about mom? Baby's here, they're healthy, they're being cared for. And then mom has to figure out her life, literally. Get her body, but have to go through the process of her body returning back. If it does return back to what quote unquote normal, or if that pregnancy causes health issues, which a lot of women do endure, right? And so now you have a child, someone that needs you to take care of them literally 24/7. You are just out of sorts because your body is just weird. Your mind is fuzzy. Life seems to be racing by and you're kind of in a blur. People are around you. If you're lucky, you have helpful people around you, but a lot of times, unfortunately, more often than not, is people who are overbearing and people who are trying to recreate their own, birthing or baby story. Or it's, you have a partner. Hopefully you have a partner that's there, that's supportive, but most often than not, it's a partner who isn't, right? And in their mind, support is, I go to work and I bring in money. That's not sufficient, right? And so now you're dealing with a relationship, if you're in one. You're dealing with other relationships with other people who are supposed to be helping you, but they're irritating you, and they're like, it's a lot, right? It's just a lot. And these are things that they don't prepare you for. And through all of that, right, from pregnancy and navigating maternity or paternal leave, right? And that's another part. You're pregnant, your brain is all foggy because pregnancy brain is real. And it's like when you're about to pop, you're like, oh, wait, oh gosh, what happens if I get this baby? What am I gonna do about work? And like now you have to navigate all these different types of leaves. And if you're lucky, because it depends on the type of work you have, there's different type of leaves you can take, etc., etc. I'll talk a little more about that. But you now have to figure that out. You probably never dealt with that before. You may not have anyone around you who's dealt with that. So you don't even know where to really start. HR is not forthcoming. If you don't go to them and be like, I need information, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, read your handbook or go to this website. So if you're not proactive to sit down and be like, hey, break this down for me so this makes sense, which a lot of people don't do, you can be confused as hell, or you're not gonna have access to all the information and resources that you actually need. And so I also did experience like, what the hell is going on? However, I was lucky enough to have, people in my life that went through it. Granted, it was many, many years ago, but it was somewhere to start. And so from navigating parental leave all the way to are you feeling overwhelmed by the demands of life, motherhood? At AJO Consulting Services, LLC, we offer comprehensive wellness services that include personalized coaching, doula care, consulting, and personal and professional development to help you navigate this beautiful yet challenging phase of life. Our services are designed to support individuals and communities, especially women, birthing people, and families of color, in creating a more joyful and stress-free experience. From family planning to postpartum care, we provide the tools and resources you need to thrive. Let AJO Consulting Services help you prioritize your well-being and create a healthier, happier future for yourself and your family. It was time to return to work. The world around me kept expecting me to be quote unquote normal, right? And to get back to business. What this experience highlighted to me in Danger Red was that this world really didn't value women at all. And the experiences I've had from pregnancy onward, and I mean that's from like being outside and like encountering with strangers all the way up into my employer, all the way up into some family members and things like that. Like, people really don't value women. The experience that you go through to even bring life into this world, women should be revered and cherished and really loved up on. And those of you who have been, you have been blessed, because there's so many others who do not get that love and experience. And it's a shame, and it was sad to have that part of your life that's supposed to be the happiest part of your life be tainted by so much bullshit, And that thought was the start of me rebranding my business to be for other women what I needed for myself during those vulnerable periods of my life. So what unique services does AJO Consulting Services offer that set it apart from others? It's really simple, honestly. AJO Consulting Services provides comprehensive wellness services that empower Black women, Black parents-to-be or new parents, and Black communities through family planning, prenatal and postpartum accommodation consultations, coaching, personal and professional development, and doula care. My goal for my services is to empower women and families in this difficult but beautiful journey of motherhood and parenthood while preserving their individuality and sanity. And those words were chosen very carefully, because when you become a parent, it's very easy to lose your identity. It's very easy to get lost in the sauce of taking care of another human being. And for a period of time, you technically have to. And it's also this confusing messaging about, you got to be everything to this baby, but also make sure to take care of yourself. How, Sway? How am I supposed to do all this stuff? And the reality situation is this. Again, you can have a loving, involved partner, but the reality situation is everything is not going to be equitable. Okay. And there are just some things that you as the mother, you as the birthing individual, it's just going to be your responsibility. It's just how it's just just how it is. Okay. It's hard having that level of responsibility and still remembering to take care of you. Okay. And biologically, your brain is wired to not think about you and think about that baby, because all the chemicals in your system is now on high alert, let's say, for lack of better wording, to make sure that baby stays alive, even if it's to your own detriment, which is crazy. Makes sense, but it's wild. And so if you don't really have a real support system, you don't have real mental strength and fortitude, you don't have people around you, resources to make sure and ensure and push you to take care of yourself, to stop, to rest, it's hard to do. And you will lose your damn mind. And I'm not saying this in a joking way. I literally mean that. Mental health issues in pregnancy and postpartum are the number one killers of women. Okay? This is such a critical, pivotal time that can literally be a thin line between life and death. Birth is a thin line between life and death, and so is postpartum. And more care needs to be given to women during this time. Not, oh, you a mom, everybody do it every day. Oh, you be fine. Oh, no. You know what people do every day too? Die. Yep. Moms die every fucking day. So having more compassion, providing more support and love, not just for the baby and being in the baby face, for mom, for the active dad, if he's actually active, honestly. And I'm saying that purposefully because some dads be in the house and they're not active. They're not even helpful. They're not even paying attention to that mom or that baby. They just feel like, okay, I'm here, I'll change a diaper or two, but oh yeah, I gotta work, or I gotta do this. Oh, what about me too? No. There's a period of time after birth that it is just about mommy and baby. And that needs to be respected and understood, because sanity can be lost. And people don't give this care and understanding to moms, but then when a mom has postpartum depression or has postpartum psychosis and they harm themselves or they harm that baby, oh my God, it's uproar. But where was the care and support for this mom? Because you have a job now that's pressuring you to return to work, or you feeling insecure about you having job insecurity, right? Because if you don't return to work, oh my gosh, now I'm going to lose my livelihood. I don't have any means to take care of my kid. 6 weeks is not sufficient. 12 weeks is not sufficient to take care of a child, to adjust to taking care of a child. Your brain is in a fog. You can barely take care of yourself, let alone a whole baby at this point, but you have to do both. And now they expect you to return to work, to now do whatever it is that you have to do efficiently. How? Yes, people do it. Yes, moms do it. But guess what? These are the same people who are suffering in silence. These are the same people who later may fall down, boop, die. No one understands. These are the same people who are dealing with depression and anxiety. These are the same people who harm their children. Just because you see people do it doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean they're not suffering. It doesn't mean they have not suffered in silence because of this. Women are now speaking up more about it, but this is not something that was common. And it still isn't, because I still know women who were pregnant around the same time as me, dealing with so much stuff. Guess what? They didn't talk about it really unless I brought it up. They didn't go and get help about it. They just figured I suck it up and do what I got to do. But how does that impact that woman's health? Because they will have long-lasting health issues because of it. How does this impact how they show up for their children? Because studies are showing it's not just, having a daddy in the home. Remember, it has to be a healthy father in the home. But what truly impacts a child's success in the future, their outcome, their health, is the health of that mom. So if mommy is not okay, she's not mentally okay, she's not physically okay, she can't show up properly for herself, there's no way she can show up for that child. So this is one of the major reasons Yes, I had to experience it to fully understand it. I definitely understood the importance of this period for women. But of course, your own personal experience is always the best teacher. This really propelled me to completely revamp my business. Completely be like, oh no, there is a gap here. And I speak on this as being a woman later in life, educated, master's educated, with backgrounds in reproductive health, with means, with health insurance, with all the things that I know a lot of women don't have access to. And it was still such a hard experience for me. So I cannot even imagine, or maybe I can to some degree, what women who have job insecurity are experiencing and have experienced too, because people treat you crazy. Like you would not even expect after you just had a baby how people would treat you and the level of stress they'll put you under. Because I've seen people that I've known who had kids and what they did. Mind you, this person is saying, I'm dealing with anxiety. Like I have really, these are the symptoms and things that I'm going through. And these jobs are like, okay, and what? Like they don't care about you. And so I can't, and they have, these women, didn't have the blessing that I had to be like, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm going to chill, right? Because I had the means to do so. These women didn't have the means to do so. So they're dealing with the stress, literally crying at the job every day, super stressed. And then you have to go home and take care of a child who don't care about nothing else that's going on but needing you. And now don't on top of that be a breastfeeding mom when your child is only taking breast, like they don't want to take nothing else, because children do that. You don't know what you're gonna get. Don't think you can force your kid to do anything because you got something else coming to you. So this was not only my experience, but experiences of women that were close to me. And I'm like, nah, this can't be life. And in me having these experiences, in me talking to other women, in me joining mommy groups, and me having, just digging and trying to look for resources and things to help my situation and those close to me, more and more I started seeing, in this day and age, you shouldn't have to choose between being present for your child and your job. You shouldn't have to choose between your mental, emotional, physical health and your livelihood. Both can exist, both can thrive. I'm here to help you achieve that. Empower your parenting journey with a workplace accommodation consultation with AJO Consulting Services now. Wow, a lot of women, all races, honestly, and ages, are going through this shit. This is crazy. This is crazy in this pivotal time of our lives that people are treating us like this, that jobs just disregard us the way that they do. And I know I needed to do something. And I did. I started with myself, and then helping those close to me, and then till now offering my services to the world, because there's no way that we can be so pivotal in bringing forth life into this world and we are discarded and uncared for the way that we are. And especially in this culture and climate, you clearly see that people want to control our womb. We can't decide if we want to have kids or not, so we're forced to have children. But once you get pregnant, they don't want to give you health insurance, they don't want to pay for services, they don't want to give you accommodations so that you can, okay, I want to work, but I need some help, right? I need some things got to shift because I'm not the same. So why would y'all keep expecting me to show up the same, right? And then when that baby come up, now deal with it on your own. But what if I couldn't afford to have this baby, but I was forced to have this baby because y'all won't let me not have this baby? Does that make sense? So especially now, these services are paramount. So what services is it that I do offer? So I offer family planning consultations, parental leave planning, workplace accommodation consultations, prenatal and postpartum planning and coaching, postpartum doula care, life, relationship, and business coaching, personal development sessions, professional development trainings, community development workshops, referral services, and more. You can also visit my website to see what more services I provide. However, these are the main services that I focus on. And for the personal and professional development, this includes, but is not limited to, preconception planning, prenatal care, newborn and infant care, postpartum care, parenting tools, self-care, stress management, mindfulness, and others. As you can hear from the services I'm providing, a lot of these things you probably never heard of before. You probably never even thought to, oh wow, yeah, let me look into that for myself. Or if you have kids, I'm sure ain't nobody sat down with you to have preconception planning or parental leave consultation so that you can make sure that you're utilizing your time and your partner's time to the best that you can, so that you have the longest amount of time out that you can have and still bring money in, right? A lot of times you just like, oh, okay, like you have your baby and your job just like does what it wants to do with your time, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, they tell you this when you got to return, and that's when you return. No, there is an alternative. Or how about even finding out what accommodations as a pregnant woman can you get? Because there are lots. Because you're a protected class, that's number one. And they are to provide you with accommodations. Will they tell you this? No, they won't tell you this. You have to find this stuff out on your own, unfortunately. Okay? There's so many accommodations that you can get, and depending on your specific situation, a lot more than you think. Okay? So this is something that we can work through, we can walk through. Because at the end of the day, again, this time is so important. It's such a vulnerable point in life. And you need to be as comfortable and in as much ease as possible. So for family planning consultation, this is for those individuals who think they want to be a parent, or they know for a fact they do, but you want to not just jump in it with your eyes closed, right? Like you just want to know what you're going to do. Same what I did for myself in my fertility journey, right? I found out, what is it that I need to do to find out what my fertility looks like. And then from there, I planned out the other things. And so I'm able to provide you consultations on what is it that you want to do, how do you want to do it, and also provide coaching. If you do decide, okay, this is the direction I want to go in, I can coach you through that process because I've been through it. Okay. As you know, postpartum doula care is something I provide, and it's so essential. Like, I'm such an advocate of doulas. I had two birth doulas. Hey, Ebony. And two postpartum doulas, essentially. And I did have to pay out of pocket because I was not eligible for any of the programs, but you can get free doulas or low cost doulas. It's definitely something worth it. And that's another thing we can plan for. We can talk about through my coaching on consultations when even if you are pregnant, seeing how we can use your parental leave, seeing how we can financially make sure that you're going to be good, right, throughout your pregnancy and postpartum for as long as possible. I will provide that assistance. But if that's something that you can afford, definitely doing so, because there's so many positive statistics in having a doula. And now insurances do cover the care. Most insurances cover the doula care. So why not, right? You will feel the difference. There's definitely a huge difference in having that support and care. Even if you don't want a birth and doula, the postpartum, let me tell you, okay? And even if you don't need nothing but then just to have them in the house so you can take a nap, because that's essentially what I use mine for. Like that, the first session or so, it was, now my brain is, I blocked out a lot of stuff, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, but I do remember that I think I had 3 postpartum sessions, and I think 2 of the 3 was doulas watching the baby so that I can sleep. Okay, yes, so that me and my partner can sleep, because you just sometimes need that break and not of knowing that the baby's fine and you ain't got to get up and just be on high alert. I think they also wash some bottles for me and dishes and stuff like that. So there's a multitude of things that they can do as a postpartum doula. But also, these are services that I do provide as well. So I'm here to provide that information if you need it. So how do these services benefit Black women and families who may face additional challenges? You know, being a Black in America is a different experience than other people experience, especially now. But it's, unfortunately, nothing very brand new for us. All of AJO Consulting Services offerings aims to address the Black maternal health crisis and decrease maternal health disparities for Black women in this country. By aiding Black women and families, especially with prenatal and postpartum planning, coaching, and workplace accommodation support, we are directly combating the often neglected mental and economical stressors that lead to decreased mental and emotional capacity. Our services uniquely empowers Black women and families from an alternative and often neglected vantage point. In a nutshell, AJO Consulting Services provides culturally sensitive support that directly addresses systemic barriers that Black women face in America. You gonna tell me y'all have another service like this? This is truly near and dear to my heart. Like, y'all have no idea how much passion goes behind the work that I'm doing, how invested I am in this work. One, yes, because I've experienced it firsthand, but I've also seen how my services has helped create ease, less stress, comfort in other women and families' lives. Because again, motherhood, huge, but it's also only a part of our identity, only a part of what we're going through and experiencing in life. And to be able to have that huge piece, but still only one piece of the puzzle with less stress and less strife, so that you can focus on other things or have less just negative weight from one area, so that you can focus, maybe put your attention into something else, is so important. Like, it is transformative. It literally is. And so this is why I'm so passionate about this work. This is why I am doing this work. And so, though my first and best client is myself, because listen, I've been through it all, y'all. Listen. I've been through it, child. That's why I know as much as I do about all these things that I've mentioned, why I provide all the services, because at some point I need them, right? And I didn't have anyone to give it to me, or I did, but it was limited. And so I had to be my advocate. I had to be my researcher. I had to be my attorney. Like, I had to do all the things, right, to obtain the services and resources that I needed for myself. This is why I know as much as I do, and I have been able to help others navigate these systems set up to break us down. Honestly, I really feel this is intentional of how these things are done, because the reality of the situation is those of us who are Black and brown are not told about a lot of things that our counterparts are told about. This is why they stay out longer. This is why they come, if they do return back to work, they return back to work refreshed. Like, they're able to get longer periods out with pay. And you're like, wait, how? What? And meanwhile, you know, you or your colleague who is Black or brown rush they behind back to work in 6 weeks or 12 weeks or 3 months. It's like, there's no way. How is it that such and such was able to stay out 6 months or a year, right? Like, these are things that speaks to how systemically we are purposefully being held down and back, because they do not share this information, or we just don't know how to navigate it. We don't know how to work the system in the way that we need to. I have consulted and coached women older and younger than myself in navigating and taking hold of their fertility and obtaining pregnancy as well as postpartum accommodations. So what advice would I give to women who are feeling overwhelmed by motherhood, who are looking to get pregnant but don't know where to start, who want, to find out more about fertility, or who are new parents, currently postpartum, and just going through it? You are not alone. Okay, you are not alone. And though sometimes this journey, and I know a lot of us who are mothers have heard this, that motherhood is isolating and it's lonely. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. There's help out there. There's services out there. So please do reach out. understand that this too shall pass. Now, let me tell you how I use this mantra so much. And them nights when I had a newborn, and baby, I literally, and in hindsight, I laugh because it's to keep me from crying. In hindsight, I physically probably could have just and died. When I felt like I couldn't hold myself up, but you had to hold yourself up to hold that baby up, because that baby needed to be put to sleep, and they were just fighting that sleep, and you just didn't know what you can do to get through the next few minutes. This too shall pass is what I kept saying to myself to get through the moment. This too shall pass. And guess what? The moment does pass, and you get through it, and you will get through it. Okay. But again, you don't have to do it alone. Please, please, please speak up and ask for help. And if you have family, if you have a partner, if you have siblings, if you have friends who can help you, ask for the help. If you can't, find community resources, get a free doula. Okay, reach out to me. And let me tell you, I do free consultations and I've done free services. I'm not going to sit here and hold you. Of course, that's not a good business model. But I'm never going to turn away someone who needs help. That just doesn't make sense to me. And so please reach out. If you're struggling, you need the help, you're lost, you don't know what to do, I'm definitely here to help. This process does not have to be hard. And I mean, the prenatal up until postpartum process does not need to be hard. Okay, despite what people try to make it seem like, oh yeah, this is a part of life. No, it ain't. You don't have to struggle. Struggle is not something that we have to inherit and pass down or normalize. I'm not with it. It does not have to be hard. It can be easier. Okay. And you don't have to take whatever is being given to you. And that's by a person, that's by institution. You do not. There are options, and we can work on finding what those options are together. Your life and your experience matters, okay? Despite what might be going on, despite it might feel just out of your hands, you just feel lost and confused, you still matter. And you are needed and you are loved, okay? Not just by that baby, right? Not just by, your children, but those around you need you and they love you. And so please remember that. If you are struggling, please, please, please reach out for help, reach out for assistance. There are tons of resources out there. If you're having mental health issues, again, please feel free to reach out to me and I will definitely connect you to the resources that you need. And for those who are interested in finding out more about AJO Consulting Services offerings, please feel free to reach out to our website, which is www.ajoconsultingservices.com. You can email us at info@ajoconsultingservices.com or call us at 347-746-3735. We are on Facebook or AJO Consulting Services, Instagram at AJO Consult, and we are also on LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, remember you are not alone in this journey. Bye. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Oasis podcast. I hope you were able to find something that resonated with you on your journey. Don't forget to subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts and YouTube. Rate us and leave us a review and comment on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and YouTube. Share your favorite episode and like us on Instagram and Facebook. If you have any questions, comments, want to be a guest, or any show ideas, contact us at ajaysoasis@gmail.com. That's AAYJAYSOASIS@gmail.com, or direct message us on Instagram and Facebook.